welcome to the first round of the Kyoto Championships. My name is Jake. I'm going to be doing some unofficial English commentary over this championship, the newest championship of OP12. Going to be really exciting. I'm ready to jump into this with you all. And if you want to watch this for yourself, I do have the official live stream down below. And because I'm going to talk about the overall meta share and the top cut meta share as well, I'll have a timestamp of when the actual match starts if you want to just jump right into it. But for those of you that want to hear me yap and also maybe help me pay rent this month, let's hear from a word from our sponsor. Our friends over at Garnet have officially kicked off the summer sale on their website. Prices are slashed from 10% to 40% across the entire store now. You can pick up some crazy discounts on One Piece based mats like the Heavenly Yaksha, some great anime themed mats like Paranormal Playmat and also the Curse vs. Beast, as well as if you get a Sun God playmat right now while supplies last. Every purchase of this specific Stitched Edge playmat gets a free playmat tube as well to help protect what you love, as well as a brand new pre-order that's dropped in the Pokemon region if you're a fan of Final Boss, which the colors on this are insane, man. I love this design. You can use my code Atrocious to save an extra 5% off and help support the channel, and make sure to grab your new favorite playmat while this sale's going on because you don't want to miss it. Now, back to the video. All right, so looking at this overall meta share within this tournament, 1/4 of all the decks in this tournament, 25% are blue, purple, Luffy, right? Sitting at about 21% last week in Hokkaido, has moved on up. A lot more people just feeling like it's the best deck in format, and a lot of that meta share has just been taken away from Zoro, right? OP12 Green Zoro was sitting at about 18% in Hokkaido and is now 14% in Kyoto here at this tournament. Still a strong one, but a little bit more people jumping off the deck. And Green, Purple, Luffy rounding out that top three, taking up almost 11% of this meta. So a majority of the meta being these three decks alone, almost 50% of the room. That's a huge meta portion overall. And then rounding out the other most populous decks, you have a Nell at 4.7%, still strong in that kind of top 5 range in terms of population. Wonder when we'll see it in a top cut. Silver's Rayleigh being at 4.6%. Very exciting seeing its popularity in the OP12 format. Definitely one of the more aggressive decks like this Zoro here. OP01 won the Hokkaido Championships last week. Let's see if it can run it back this week at 4.4%. 4.2% is Bello Betty. 4.1% over here is Rob Lucci. And then in the 3%, you have 3.6% Bonnie, right? That OP07 Green Leader. And then OP05 Purple Luffy at 3.4%. And about 21% running the rest of the field. The top cut, though, however, has some surprises in it, right? Once you get out of the 11 decks that consist of blue, purple Luffy or green, purple Luffy, right? You get into some exciting stuff in these last 5 decks, 2 of them being Silver's Rayleigh from OP12, right? Being such an aggressive deck with those small bodies and constant power-ups of those characters just gives such incredible poke potential that has made it a viable contender within this format. And then with one each, you have Rob Lucci, right? A great counter pick to a lot of these decks in format, or has the ability to counter a lot of these decks. You've got Blue Yellow Nami, which ran the tables at the final OP11 tournament, and also Blue Nami from OP03. That's my personal deck, one that I love. So we'll see if we can watch any of those games today. But I do know that this first round is one that I'm super excited for. It's blue, purple Luffy, and that might be one that you would say, oh, Jake, that's not very exciting, right? We know it's leader effect by now. Once you get to 8 Dawn before your Dawn phase, you get to look at the top 5 cards, find a Straw Hat Crew type card. But it's facing up against Silver's Rayleigh. So Silver's Rayleigh, one of the more interesting leaders that has been printed, right? Can't have any characters or cards in general with the cost of 5 or more. So only running cards between the cost of 0 and 4 with that activate main, though once per turn, if you revealed 2 event cards, you can give a character with the base power or original base power of 4,000 or less plus 2,000 power, which this leader effect actually has really good synergy because, especially since you're not running anything higher than a 4 cost, it's very easy to populate a lot of strong red characters that have 4,000 power or less, and we'll see plenty of them in the starting hand. The blue-purple Luffy is going to be going first, and let's see the starting hand. Oh, looks like they're doing the mulligan now at this point. All right, so leaving up to fate both of these players to see what's in their starting hands. Ooh, and not looking like a great hand for the Luffy. Does have that 5-drop Nami, right, for the early game, but no Gear 2s, no Bon Clays to be able to ramp early, to be able to race up to that 7-8 Dawn that they really want, especially in a matchup like this. Might be a little tough on them here in this game, especially if the Rayleigh can get going. So a little bit of observation hockey there on those 0 cost, those non-foil 0 cost, right? Those are basically 0 or 1 cost searchers. You've also got the Boa Hancock, which is a really nice searcher, as well as that 1-drop Nami. So pretty decent hand for this Rayleigh. Definitely would say that the Rayleigh has a little bit of an advantage at this point, right? Being an aggressive deck like the OP11 Zoro, like the Bello Betty, right? Can just capitalize on this Luffy by purely just out-tempoing it, right? Just swinging enough times in the early game, not letting this Luffy set up. Going to be really interesting to see how this game may play out. And the Luffy going first is just going to Dawn and pass, right? Doesn't have any 1 Dawn plays to be able to utilize. The Rayleigh on their 2 Dawn turn is just going to go ahead, rest both Dawn right here, or maybe not. I was going to say maybe they're going to play this Boa real quick, and looks like they actually are going to play this Boa. So the Boa, really interesting within this deck, right, is going to look ahead at that top 5, find a Luffy or event card, and finds that 4-drop Luffy. The 4-drop Luffy is the lifeblood of this deck, I think, especially going second. Does allow you to play out an extra character onto the field, kind of gives you a swarm effect that can be so good within this game. The blue-purple Luffy, though, on the 3 Dawn turn, just attaches 1 and pass, does top deck a Bon Clay, but the Bon Clay not necessarily going to help you in this turn because you're only at 3 Dawn. Only Gear 2 can help you ramp at this point. On the curve, the Luffy is going to go ahead and play down on that on-play effect, is going to reveal 2 different event cards, and if you have 2 different event cards that you reveal, you can go ahead, play down a 3,000 power character or less, and give a Rested Dawn onto a character or leader. So giving that Rested Dawn to the Boa is going to go ahead now and do that buggy top 5 to try to find an event card, and it looks like they're going to be grabbing that 0 cost event Armentaki, I believe it's called, to be able to utilize within the game, and now using leader effect is going to make this Boa 6,000 power along with the Dawn. And so now using the Boa's second effect, right, you trash the Boa and give 2 Rested Dawn to a leader or character, is going to be more on the aggressive and swing with the Rayleigh. You always, after swinging with this Boa, want to use that trash effect, especially in this matchup, right, to get that extra power and extra swing, because this Luffy, if that Boa was on the field and rested, would just swing into it, right? So with the activate main, you get a little bit of more power and you get to swing. We see a Kid Killer come in the Rayleigh's hand, definitely an aggressive version of this deck. And so because of all the aggression, the blue-purple Luffy is going to have to use Nami. The Nami is going to be able to help filter the hand, maybe find some counter cards, maybe find a ramp card in the next turn, something they can play. But looks like is going to put away this Linlin and Kyros. Going to be curious to see if they put this on the top or bottom. Looks like putting it on the top, maybe just saying, I might need this Kyros and this Linlin, right? The Linlin to be able to heal life and the Kyros to be able to remove something off the board. And so now starts off with the observation hockey. The observation hockey is going to go ahead and look at this top 5 to be able to find a Sanji. The Sanji is going to be a really nice character, I think, to be able to have in this game. On your turn is going to be 6,000 power. So especially if you can combo with another 4-cost Luffy, which I believe they have one in hand, maybe, is going to be using this leader effect to boost up some of these characters, is going to attach 1 to the buggy and swing 6,000 power. And so now with the activate mains is going to go ahead and swing, I believe, 6,000 power at the leader right here, because of already giving the boost to the buggy, is going to go ahead and play down another Luffy on curve. And so after that 2k gets him out of that swing, is going to go ahead, use that Luffy effect to play the Sanji, and again, swarm the field, and attaching one Dawn from that Luffy effect right on that 4 cost is going to be a 7,000 power swing. Then another 2k gets out, does not want to go to 1 as of yet. Now the game plan at this point, probably just going to be swinging at one of these characters and then playing Kyros to bounce one back. The real question is, and one that honestly I'm battling a little bit about as I'm looking at this board state, do you bounce back the Sanji or do you bounce back the Luffy? The Luffy has a little bit more potential to be higher power, right? But if you bounce the Luffy back, it's going to be able to swarm down another character onto the field. And so what do you value a little bit more? Do you value that Luffy's power more or the Sanji? And this player looking like they're trying to decide the same thing of what they want is going to put the Luffy back. Okay, I was going to say maybe the Sanji at this point, but maybe because the Sanji can only swing a little 6, right, without any other boost of some sort, is going to be the better option. So starting out with an observation hockey, has plenty of draw within this deck, has plenty of searching, is going to go ahead and find another one of those OP10 Punk Hazard Sanjis to put in the hand. Might just combo well with that 4 cost Luffy that was put back in the hand, just to play it out on the field at this point. Definitely in the driver's seat of this game, I believe. The Luffy only having 4 cards in hand and no counter is going to go ahead and start out with the Boa Hancock, just doing another search at this point. Is going to go ahead and find, it looks like maybe a Gum Gum Jet Gatling, I believe it's called, or Gum Gum Gatling of some sort. Either way, it's going to be able to give more power right on that main. Give 3,000 power to one of your characters, and if your opponent has a 7,000 power character or more on the field, you can gain an additional 1,000 on top of that. So for 2 Dawn, getting 4,000 power, definitely really nice for this deck. That Film Straw Hat Crew event card gonna be able to be powered up if they want to utilize it, because that Kyros is sitting on the field, as this Rayleigh is probably just going to ignore all the characters and swing at face constantly. Starting out with this Sanji swing is going to take the life, I believe, using the Rayleigh leader effect on it to make it an 8,000 power swing, is going to go ahead and use the Boa Hancock to attach to the Luffy and make another 8,000 power swing, I think. 2 from the Rested Dawn on the Boa Hancock attached, and because there's now 3 attached Dawn on different characters and leaders, going to be an additional 2,000 power, so that's how we get that number. Is going to go ahead now, use that other Luffy that was bounced back into the hand, get another Dawn onto the leader and attach the last active, and ends off with an 8,000 power swing, takes that life, because there was literally no counter in the hand, the last 2 life being a 9 cost Sanji and the 5 cost Nami. Now the Luffy at 9 Dawn is in a bad position right now, might go ahead and lose this game within the next turn. Their 2 best plays, I feel like, at this point are either 9-drop Linlin to remove something off this Luffy's board and gain a life, or go ahead and use Katakuri, leave 1 Dawn open. I guess another thing they could do is maybe Kyros and then leave 2 Dawn up after swinging at this Sanji, right? You would remove 2 characters on the field, and you would have 2 up, 1 for a Gum Gum Giant, and maybe another one for a potential Gum Gum Giant if you draw into another one, or a Gear 2. If you're curious on this Kyros swing, how they got out of that, right, swinging at that Luffy's effect of gaining 2,000 power for the 2 attached Dawn is ongoing, right? It's on your turn and your opponent's turn. So that Luffy was 6,000 power as that Kyros swung into it right at 9,000 power. And so just 2Ks of those 2 Sanjis getting out of it. The leader effect is going to go off first, though. Swinging 8,000 power now at leader with this Sanji. Could go ahead and use the Gum Gum Giant, which I think you have to at this point. You literally don't have any other way to survive right now. Is going to go ahead, pitch that Kyros, draw 2 cards. Does find a 2K, 1K in the Nami and Sanji, but honestly, by the looks of it, does not look to be in a good spot. Only 5,000 counter for this blue-purple Luffy. And so with the 2-Don is going to go ahead and use that Gum Gatling card that I talked about earlier. Apologize if it's the wrong name. Is going to give it to the Luffy to give it plus 4,000 power at this point, making it an 8,000 power character without the use of its ongoing effect. And so now using the Arumentaki is going to give a character or leader another additional 1,000 power, probably to that Luffy, is now going to swing 9,000 power, I think, in this swing. And so now takes that block right, does not want to give anything up, is just going to swing 6,000 power since you have 2 attached Dawn and put the rest on to leader. Looks like 8 Dawn in total is going to go ahead and claim that win on the 13,000 power swing. And that's the strength of Silver's Rayleigh. You give them a couple searches at the beginning of the game to find exactly what they need in those 4-drop Luffys, in the 3-drop Sanjis, right? Those Boa Hancocks. And you have such an aggressive game, such high tempo, right? That a lot of decks, especially these setup decks like Blue-Purple Luffy, can't battle against, right? Really struggle against, as to why we've seen, OP11 Zoro, Bello Betty, and now Silver's Rayleigh really have a spotlight within this meta. Very interesting to see. But before we go anywhere, let's go ahead and look at some sample deck lists from these 2 leaders. And so here's a Blue-Purple Luffy list. It's not the exact one that we saw within this game, but it's probably pretty close. I would say the only difference is maybe taking out either some of these Monkey D. Luffy 9-cost rushers, or maybe like Thunder Bagua or the It's to Die For events, and switch them out for a couple different Kyros cards. This is a pretty good skeleton though for Blue-Purple Luffy if you're interested in building it. A lot of the early game, as we've talked about on this channel, is ramping. You have plenty of ramp cards. Just unfortunate that this player didn't see any at the beginning of this game, right? You have the early turns being Gear 2, you could have a Zoro Juro to play down on one turn and double ramp on the next turn, right? With that when attacking effect. On the even curve, you have Bon Clay to play on your second turn, as well as It's to Die For. Just really nice, especially it doesn't even have to be on curve, right? You see that you get a Dawn card ramped, but on top of that, if your opponent has a 6,000 power or more character in play, you can get another Dawn on top of that. So being able, maybe on like a 6 Dawn turn or something like that, if you don't have something like Nami to play down, could be advantageous to be able to double ramp into your 8 Dawn to be able to use leader effect. You can play a variety of boss monsters within this deck, but the most typical that we see in all of the lists are the secret rare Sanji right from OP06. You have the 8-drop Katakuri, a great card that came in OP11, debatably the best card from OP11. And the 9-drop Lin right from OP08, being able to heal up a life and also get a little bit of removal on the board is just so strong, especially when paired up with this 9-cost Sanji. And with leader effect, you can manipulate the top of the deck. Definitely a strong deck, definitely has a lot of different tech options that you can utilize, but sometimes when you run into a deck like Silver's Rayleigh, they're just too fast, too aggressive for you. But let's look at a Silver Rayleigh deck. So here's a list that's probably pretty close. I know that there's a little bit of differences within this deck, but bear with me on it. This did get first place in a flagship as well, 5-0. So it might be nice to see a little bit different of what some other people are doing. This list playing the 1-drop Searcher Shakuyaku, as well as a Vista. You could probably switch this for those 1-drop Namis that we saw in the deck, right? Didn't see played down onto the field, but the Nami Searcher just very good within the deck. Alongside that, you have plenty of other Searchers to be able to accelerate your game plan, right? OP03 Buggy, this 1-drop that was so good in stuff like the Ace list, the traditional Zoro list, to be able to run around on the field. You could probably also swap this Jinbei for Magura. We saw Magura in the deck as well. Boa Hancock also just being another searcher, allows for 3 different character searchers within this deck, as well as a 4th different searching card in the Observation Hockey. This deck just a lot of times, because of all of its different searching pieces, just ends up being really consistent, right? Incredibly low to the ground, fulfills its game plan, right, of swarming the board with these small characters, especially with the help of the OP12 Straw Hat Crew Supernova Luffy, playing down different aggressive characters like the Sanji, right, that we saw in this match from OP10. The Buggy, right, being able to get an extra search for one of these events to be able to use off of your leader effect, or maybe even something like a Boa Hancock, or maybe even like what we saw. I know I talked about replacing Jinbei, but Magura, right? Magura might be really nice to be able to enable something like Buggy for more power, or the one-drop Nami or one-drop Searcher if you would rather have Shakuyaku in your deck. Definitely very cool to see this deck in action. Definitely fun to watch in this one. Hopefully maybe we can get another game in a different matchup or so. But Silver's Rayleigh, now in the second tournament of the OP12 format, did not disappoint within this, and why it could be a meta contender. And so that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy this. I am 3,000 miles from home. I'm over visiting my parents and helping them out these last couple weeks, which is why this past tournament, you know, I've just got a wired Apple microphone onto my laptop sitting in a bedroom. It's definitely not as polished as the last couple tournaments, but I'm still trying to get you these as well, and it's going to be very, very nice. One thing that I did see, and I would love your opinion on for anybody who's made it this far in the video, I saw that Hong Kong also had a championship the other night. So if you guys want, let me know in the comments as well if you would like to see this Hong Kong championship. There are a lot of rounds in this. One thing that we may do, I'd be curious, is when I come back after the Las Vegas regional, maybe we could do like a live stream where we watch all of these rounds, because it would technically be like a week after this has aired, but I still think it would be really cool because they're also in the OP12 format, I believe. Yeah, they're still in the OP12. They're also in the OP12 format, so it'd be really nice to get a lot of watching in from that tournament. So just let me know down in the comments. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope to see you later. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. Thanks for watching.